I would, in fact, make sure that we immediately surge to the border. All those people are seeking asylum. They deserve to be heard. That's who we are. We're a nation that says if you want to flee and you're fleeing oppression, you should come.
Months before the ill-fated 2020 presidential election, candidate Joe Biden took to the airwaves to tell his supporters and foreigners in other countries that if he won the election, to immediately surge the United States border. And you've now seen the exponential rise of giant migrant caravans from around the world traveling to Guatemala, then traversing from the south of Mexico all the way up to the Texas, California, and Arizona borders. This exclusive footage shot from the Mexico side of the border on the Rio Grande River is extremely important because it shows that as of last night, migrants from Haiti are still flooding across the Rio Grande River into the United States. On the morning of September 16th, 2021, journalists operating a drone from the Epoch Times were able to capture the historic footage of more than 8,000 Haitian migrants lured here by Joe Biden's announcement 8 days earlier that Haitians that came to the southern Texas border would be allowed in. Once the footage went viral, Biden's administration went into overdrive and ordered the Border Patrol and the FAA to put up a geofence 1,000+ yards back so no media could get footage by drones or telephoto lens. But more caravans were coming, and they were coming to more places than just the Del Rio Bridge. That night, a mile away, our drone operators were able to capture exclusive footage of more than 2,000 Haitian migrants crossing the Rio Grande into the arms of the Border Patrol and the National Guard, who would then complete the smuggling process by taking them to the Del Rio makeshift bridge camp, then processing them onto buses to be released to the United States with no checking of their IDs or no COVID test. Globalism is a corporate takeover of the entire planet, not just of the nation states, but over our individual bodies themselves, in the words of Klaus Schwab. It is a scientific dictatorship. It is a new form of 21st century war. And at the heart of their takeover plan is replacement migration. It's on the United Nations' own website. A program, a plan to collapse the third world and then organize billions of desperate people to then invade the once powerful, rich Western world, not to empower the invading migrants, but to collapse those economies as part of a larger Cloward and Piven strategy. Joe Biden is simply a minion carrying out this operation, and the same operation is being carried out in Europe as well as wealthy areas of Asia. Joe Biden's handlers are desperate to hide the truth of what's happening on America's southern border, because if his treason is ever exposed, the American people will rise up together and put a stop to it. Ever watchful, Texas Senator Ted Cruz was on the scene and gave the media critical information.
The answer is simple, that Joe Biden and Kamala Harris are absolute hypocrites. Those 10,000 people there, do you know how many Border Patrol has tested? 0, not a one. They don't have the capacity to do that. And let me tell you something stunning that I learned tonight about why this happened, because this is a man-made crisis. 8 days ago, on September 8th, under that same bridge, there were between 700 and 1,000 people. That was what was coming a day, about 1,000, sometimes 1,100, but it would range between 700 and 1,100. Then 8 days ago, on September 8th, the Biden administration made a political decision. They announced that they were no longer going to fly deportation flights back to Haiti. 85% of the people under there are from Haiti. They're fleeing from Haiti. They announced they weren't going back. There were about 900 Haitians who were getting ready to board the flights when the political operatives in Washington canceled the flights. Well, what happened? Those 900 people, they all pulled out their cell phones and they emailed their friends and they emailed their families and they texted their friends and their families. That was 8 days ago on September 8th. Today it's September 16th, 8 days later, and 700 people has grown to 10,500 because the word has gone out. If you're from Haiti, Joe Biden and Kamala Harris have said, we have open borders, come to Del Rio and they will let you in. Everyone under that bridge is turning themselves in, and it's a political decision that Joe Biden could end tonight by simply following the law and saying we are going to send people back to Haiti, which is what federal immigration law requires until Biden and Harris got in office. It is September 16th. This is underneath one bridge. 10,503 illegal aliens. A mass of humanity that has crossed and is waiting to come into America. The reason they're here is simple. 8 days ago, the Biden administration made a political decision. A political decision to cancel deportation flights to Haiti. They did that on September 8th. 8 days later, these numbers appeared. On September 8th, underneath this bridge, there were between 700 and 1,000 people. But when the word got out that Joe Biden and Kamala Harris were no longer deporting people who came from Haiti, suddenly everyone who was here called their friends, called their family, and the numbers surged to 10,503. That's what's here today. It is more than the capacity of the Border Patrol to handle. This is the result of a political decision. This is a result that is indefensible.
September 16th, we're here in Del Rio, Texas, and right behind me over my shoulder, you can see the International Bridge, where currently 9,200 undocumented migrants are being kept from Haiti. It's important to note that the U.S. government doesn't want you to see this. The Biden administration does not want you to see this. So as of this morning, they established a federal no-fly zone to make sure that news media cannot fly drones anywhere near this bridge to document these 9,200 migrants that are currently being kept in a camp underneath that bridge. Other news agencies, up until yesterday, were able to obtain some of that footage, and you'll see that footage here on our show. But as of this morning, the federal government has cracked down and now are working actively to prevent the American people from finding out what's taking place on our border. Namely, that human waves, human caravans are slamming repeatedly into our southern border and completely overwhelming the U.S. Border Patrol, Texas Highway Patrol, local authorities, and the Texas National Guard that are here trying to stem the tide. We've been trying to get footage all day of the migrants, the 10,503 Haitian migrants that are right underneath this bridge, a mere 200 yards from where I'm standing at right now. But of course, the Biden administration doesn't want you to see that. If you've watched the news today, you know that Fox News flew a drone over the bridge to show the 10,500 migrants, and immediately the Border Patrol told them that this was a Federal Aviation Administration restricted no-fly zone and that they would no longer be allowed to fly their drone. They've also brought in National Guard, Texas Highway Patrol at all the entrances to make sure that you, the American people, cannot be informed and see actual pictures of what is taking place underneath that bridge. But we're not going to let that stop us. What we're going to do is we're going to cross this bridge and go into Mexico, turn around, and get footage of the migrants from on top of the bridge. Now, the irony on that is not lost, that we have to cross into Mexico to be able to document illegal aliens that are here in the United States. But that's what we got to do to get the truth out to the American people, and that's what we're going to do right now.